All right, today we're going to be learning about template function. Template function works when you want a single function that has different variables, different types of variables. And as we know, types are basically integers or doubles or floats. So the different types of numbers, simply put. And this is an example of template function, but it isn't finished yet. But what I will do is taking you guys from the start by just deleting this one function, one line of code. So let's go through this line by line. What we have done here. The first line we made an integer function called add function, which has a parameter of two integer x and y. And then what the function does is returning the addition, is adding these two numbers together and returning the result. So that's our add function. And in our main, we have created a double called x and an integer called y, which is 15, and the x is 12. And then we have integer z, which doesn't have a value. And usually when we work with integers that doesn't have value, we're going to assign a value to the integer later on. And as you can see, z is assigned the addition of x and y. When we run this program, we will see 27. And that works because um, both numbers we have here are full numbers. But when we change one of them to 12.3, the result is going to be 27 still. The result should be 27.3. Excuse my math. 27.3, but what we got is without the decimal point. And why is that? Because we have set up the parameter over here. And okay, gotcha. And because we have set up the parameter, the integer parameter over here, our number is going to appear as an integer even though it has a decimal point. And the way to fix that is through template function. So what template function does is, assigning types to the function we created here, depending on the functions down here. So that was a pretty confusing way of explaining it, but simply put, it's an easy way of having multiple types of variables in one function. And to have a template function, we simply type template first, and then in this bracket in here we type class, and we assign the class a name. I'll just name it Rob. Now, what Rob will do is we'll put Rob, we'll copy and paste this and paste it to integer and replace the integer type up here. So what we will do is simply deleting all the integers in this function, including the function's parameter, and then we don't make any other changes. So what will happen here is something's wrong. Rob y, Rob x, template 6, Rob. You know what? Let's pause the video. Alright, I just found out what's wrong remembering what the tutorial said earlier on. What the tutorial said is basically we can't have multiple multiple types of variables in one in the main. So in one calculation, we can only have either the doubles or all the integers. So when we add one number to another, the first number has to be either an integer or a double. And the second number has to be the same as the first, and the third number has to be the same as the first two. So likewise, Um, that's why we can have three doubles or three integers. Let's do the double first. If I give this a decimal, sorry, 12.3, the result will be correct. Hmm. Then if we change all these to integers, oh, what's that? You know what? Yeah, let's get rid of that. The result will be, the result will still work. So let's go through this one more time and just work out how this program actually runs. What we have done here is creating a class called Rob, and this is called a template. And Rob is going to replace the variable types in the first function. So it's going to change. Hold on a second. What if I change this to integer? I don't think that will work, but just to experiment around. Oh, it works. Okay. But this works anyway. Yes. But it wouldn't work without this because that just wouldn't work. So what Rob does is going down the codes line by. I can't speak English right now. It's going down the code line by line, and when it comes up here, when it goes up to here, it's going to see Rob, and it's going to recognize that these variables don't have a type so far. So the program will keep running, and up to here, when it sees int, and integer, it will go. It will realize that Rob will have to be integer for the function to run. It can't be double because double and integer can't just run. You can't have different types of variables in one calculation. Well, that's my understanding so far. And using this method, we can have changing variable types depending on the variable type we have down here. But we cannot have multiple variable type in one calculation. If we do this, the program will not run because we have different variable types in one calculation. So that's all about template function. Pretty easy stuff. Don't forget to subscribe and we'll see you next time.